Hello, good morning, and welcome back to Reaper Pro-Tips with me, your host, Anne, and Disembodied Hands, Quindy, and I guess just Quindy. Everybody else had abandoned Quindy. Actually, they might be back now, I'm not sure, but we'll just continue to say it's the Quindy Show, which can only really mean good things. Hello, hello. Thank you, Turjon. Yes. Glad it was valuable. We did a lot, for those who missed my personal stream yesterday, we did a lot on this guy. 1 second, it's a Reaper model. It's Chibi Werewolf. So we painted this guy on my stream yesterday, or we painted a lot of him, touched up a lot of him, almost finished. Got very, very close to finished. Not back till Monday. Let me get this guy in focus. There we are. There we are. Yeah, cool. If that's funny. Yeah, he is cute. I like that Chibi Werewolf Lon, I think is what they call him, for Lon Chaney. But yeah, he's adorbs. So, and I started him literally years ago when I was still in Texas, and just never got back around to it. So for October, I figured he was a good subject to work on the stream. That's all right, you know. We could always use sarcastic comment support. So let's see here. Well, we all have. I used to call it drunk thumbs. All the misspellings were because my thumbs were drunk. That was my story, and I was sticking to it. So I'm going to mix up. I think I'm not going to mix up the metallics right away because we're new washes. With some of the only times you see us do washes. Let's see here. I know I've got gloss sealer around here somewhere. There it is. So remember, when you build a wash for metallics, you want to use gloss sealer instead of brush-on sealer because you want it to stay glossy. And the paint itself is automatically going to make it a little bit duller, which is what you want. When you're shading metallics, you actually do want the shadows to be a little more dull. You don't want them to be super shiny. But using a gloss means that you get more of the shine staying in the raised areas. So that's why you do it that way. And then the fact that the pigment is going to build up in the cracks means that you're going to get more of a dull action in bringing out the details. Alrighty, so let's look. Got my nice wash. We've got... That's right. I do need to mix up my metallic because we are putting a little bit of our metallic into our wash too, because we're doing it the way Kirill does it. And that man's a pro, so let's do it. The new Path of Exile comes out today. The new patch, or like they call them leagues. So soon David will cease to be sucked into World of Warcraft and begin to be sucked into Path of Exile. And I'll probably be sucked in along with him. Hello, Twisted Oma. Yes, happy Friday. I've been very productive this week, and I have a whole week left. Got a PDF to put up on the Patreon almost done, and got some coachings in progress to get to you guys, or get to the guys that are my coachees. All right, so let us get this mixed up. But yes, very productive week for me this week. And I'm planning my novel for NaNoWriMo. I was super thrilled because the ending scene popped into my head this morning. So now I know how the novel starts and how the novel ends. Now all you have to do is fill in the middle. Everybody writes differently, just like everybody paints differently. It's always really interesting to me to notice just to look at people's creative processes between different arts, crafts, and creative pursuits in general, and to see how they vary, because I can almost always draw parallels with miniature painting to all the rest of them. Oh no, Squinty. Yeah, but Kirill out-pros most of us. Give respect where respect is due. All right, let's see here. So pine green is our first wash. And I even kept my, see, this is why having a little card is useful. I even kept my ratios written down. So I know exactly what ratio that pine green wash was. So I know that it was 2 drops of paint. Blook, blook. And 2 drops of water. Blook, blook. And then 3 drops of sealer. Oh, I gotta unclog my sealer. But yeah, Turgeon, it's like, but it's funny though. Like the middle of the book is the fun part. Like for me, the beginning is always the hardest. Like it's the slowest for me. I have trouble with like just getting off, like to a really good start on a beginning. But this book is different that way. So maybe I'm getting better at it as I work on my writing. I usually have a kick butt ending, so I'm like happy that has showed up, or at least I have like the final ending. I now know who the villain is, who the antagonist of this book is, and why, and what, and how. I know all that. And that's important, because when you've got that, then it's like the book itself is much easier. Like you understand like what should happen because you know who's doing what. Whose aim is what. Motivation is everything with fiction. All right, and then we need 1 brushful of this wonderful bronze metallic that we just mixed. Yeah, it is a pain, and that's why I always forget to reassign mine, Twisted Emma. Twitch does need a calendar. Hello, Daffodweir. Because Twitch is a word for accurate shooting, Pendraig. Like, Twitch, how good your Twitch is how good you are at flick shots and stuff like that. Twitch is like, it's kind of related to that, and since Twitch started out as a video gaming streaming platform, that's why. But it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. So 1 brushful rather, of the metal. Which gives us a beautiful verdigris color. Because the pigments in the metal affect the green that we chose. So we have that beautiful green now, with a little bit of metal in it. October 22nd is today. So your Twitch sub should be today, unless it counts down to the hour, which is so obnoxious. If it does that, it's like, Twitch, why? Why? Oh, that's so stupid. Yeah, right. They want to blame it on your internet, but, you know, after their recent huge data leak, I think they have no right to blame anything on anyone except themselves. Okie dokie, we've got a beautiful green wash. Let's apply it. We want it to end up looking like this. I'm going to use kind of a crappy brush. It's good to use a crappy brush for washes because of their thinness, they're almost always going to get up into the ferrule when you load up your brush. So use a brush that you don't really care about or that you're kind of using as a craptastic mixing brush. And that way, you know, if it does get up there, you're not wrecking a good brush. Because when you put on a wash, you want to get a huge glob of it, really. I want to kind of look at that. Yeah, I think it's about right. I'm going to test it on this area. I kind of feel like I need maybe 1 more drop of water, but maybe not. Because this is a bit thicker. It's going to feel not very watery. But that means it's going to stick in the cracks really well because of viscosity. So I'm going to pull some of that excess out and pull it down here. I'm going to push this out of the way. So like that. It's maybe a little bit too thick. I may add 1 more drop of water. Sometimes you gotta tune. But I'm going to pull off some of this really thick wash and just kind of apply it down here. Around the areas we need it. A thicker wash is, of course, going to color the surface more. And I want to actually darken down the face of this ram a lot. I'm getting some bubbling, which will happen when you're using a stiffer brush and you're going fast over a surface with a wash. You will see some bubbles. If you do, just blow on them. It will pop them. You will be fine. Do not sweat it. There we go. So I think that worked out just fine, and I don't mind having heavier green under this because that's an underlying surface. That surface would probably have a lot of verdigris. So we'll be verdigreeing this a lot probably, because if water comes on, it's gonna come down and pool and sit in this area. Same within here, actually. This even more so, if his arms are hanging down, the water's gonna pool along that. So do I want to keep it that thick though? I think I want one more drop of water. That's what I'm feeling. One more, which will give me a 3-3-2-1, 3 water, 3 sealer, 2 paint, 1 brush full of metal. Hey, Crowley. Hey, lovely Devahi. So this is a custom wash. I just had mixed it up. That's our metal color, which is custom also. I just used pine green, but when you do a wash over metal, you want it to stay a little glossy so that you keep the gloss of the metal. So I use gloss sealer to thin down that green along with water, and then a brush full of the metal medium also, or the metal color also in there to make it all work better together. So the original color of the metal is here. We put the green wash over it so that it looks like this, which is a section we did earlier. Then we come in and we actually do verdigris. This is all the different stages actually here of what we do, how we're developing this model. So this is the first step. The green here and now here is the second step. This third step is to apply a brown wash over the green to really add depth and age to the bronze. And then the next step is to come back and add in the actual verdigris that you see here, which is more of a precise application of an off green. And then taking some of our metal and bringing it back just on the surfaces where the metal would rub off to regain some of that original color. So it's a multi-stage process, but it gives you, as you can see, an excellent result. Most of miniature painting is like that. You can get a decent result just with a quick wash or two. But if you want really cool, really awesome aged verdigris stuff, then you got to put a little bit more work into it. And it's usually multi-stages, just like verdigris itself is just a buildup, slow buildup over time of tarnish and then oxidation, and buildup of mineral deposits from that oxidation. Getting a good metal result with true metallics is a matter of building up layers of washes and then detailing and then, bringing back your metallic highlights. Well, I'm afraid that now it's an official word, Pendrake, because more and more of the, Urban Dictionary type words are totally ending up in the actual dictionary now. Language is an evolving beast. Language is not a static entity. It is alive. Language is alive. For better or for worse. Ha! Twisted Oma. Ha! That was funny. There we are. Alrighty. Just pulling that off, getting that green on there. So now that I've thinned it a little bit, my green is more subtle. I'm not as much I like it a little better, I think, thick, but it was definitely thick and took quite thick and took a lot of extra work. So I'm like, eh. I'm going to put a little bit more of the green though. Once it dries, I'm going to put a little bit more of the green over the ram's head. Because I want to really darken down the ram's head because it's going to get a lot of use. And then I'm going to really weather it. But I need the dark first to make the weathering stand out. It's all about building up stuff. So again, when you're doing washes, get a crap ton on your brush, glob it on, and then spread it around. And if you are afraid of getting it all over the place where you don't want it, glob it in the center of what you are trying to apply it to, and then spread it out. And let it pool. So many people I see, newbies at Paint Club, like over the years, they grab the wash, and then they try to thinly brush it as if it's a base coat or a glaze over the surface. You don't. You glob it on like this. You leave it globby. You don't ever pull it thin. You want it to pool. You want it to outline things. So don't sit there and try to brush it gently over a surface. Just slobber it on, put thick. That's the point of a wash. That is the way you apply a wash. I'm gonna do some videos like this on the Patreon coming up in the $2 tier. I'm gonna do some very simple beginning painting videos like this for application purposes, because a lot of people, when they start out, like, they learn about washes and maybe they just apply them out of a bottle. But if you learn to mix your own, you have a lot more freedom in what you do and the effects that you can get. So I want to teach everybody the proper way to apply a wash. All right, so there we got our green tone on there, and that's pretty good, I think. I'm gonna get the inside while I'm here. And now we don't have any of our raw color left. I should paint a greave down here just so I have that comparison. Actually, I think I will while I wait for this to wash. Although then I have to put down a base color because we remember. Oh, I can talk about this while we are waiting. That way we're talking about all parts of everything. Remember, we were using black and brown as our base coat. Always put down a solid color and a dark color underneath your metallics before you put them down. You can use all sorts of different browns for gold tone or bronze or brass toned metallics. You could also use dark green. It doesn't really matter if you're going to be doing this many treatments over the top of it. I think I did use Ancient Oak for the first part because I wanted to differentiate, but it really, as long as you're going to cover it over with so many layers, it probably doesn't matter. I'm just going to put a quick coat on this so that I can put down our base color. That way I can refer people to, this is how we started out, and then this is it after one treatment, and then this is it after the next wash, and so on. So that we have a reflection of our work in progress. I mean, really, it's what I just said, Dovahi. You make sure you put a lot of it on your brush. The other thing is you do exactly like with a base coat. You start in one area and you move around the model. So blob it here, move this, get this whole area, and then move it this way. You never want to leave one area to dry and then move in a different area. If you leave something to dry, you're going to get the blobs. That's where you don't want to get the blobs. You need to start at an edge and move around. Or start at one area that is on an edge like this and then move around. Or move from top to bottom, however makes sense. But it's the same tip I give about doing an even base coat. You always want to be working against a wet edge. You don't want to establish like, you know, an edge, and then that edge is in the middle of somewhere, and not up against something like this. Like this would be an edge, right? So if I was putting a wash over this, I would start here and move around it, or I would start up and then move down. But usually I start from the side and move around. And use a lot of paint. The more paint you use when it's very, very thin, the longer it will take to dry and the more time you will have to move the paint around. Like I said, I'll do a video on this for Patreon as well with an example directly. All right, I'm going to do another load of green onto the ram's head, because I really want to discolor this area heavily. Also, I'm curious to see what color it changes if I put another coat on. Metallics are fun because they'll change colors as you apply different colors over the top of them, as you could see from our starting color and then applying even one level of green wash. It completely changed the look of the metallic. That's part of the fun. My base coat is almost dry. I'm going to take a mold line off that I just noticed while we wait. It's the downside of starting with washes is that they do take just a tiny bit of time to dry, because, as I just mentioned, when you have a lot of thin paint, a lot of it all in one area, it does take time to dry. That gives you time to work, but on stream it means that you are making your audience kind of hang out, but you know, it's all right. We're pretty chill. There. See another one there. There's a lot of, I mean, he's a big guy, so it's pretty easy to get the mold lines off once you see them. He's just big, so it takes a while. Sometimes I haven't noticed all the mold lines at the beginning, especially if they're kind of on the side and buried like this guy is. There. That'll be better. Excellent. So yeah, there. Let us put our metallic over the top of that. Hello, Bob and Julie. Well, and there are models that you might want to do that on. If you're doing, if you're going over a bones model with brown liner to bring in out all the details, then you're doing a wash over the whole thing. And you can do that. I mean, if you base coat everything and then you put a brown wash over the whole thing to shade it, it is a quick way to get shading on everything and a way to unify the model. Then you have a lot of work to do, though, bringing up all those colors again. That's the way I used to paint. Back when I was like first starting out, when I first learned shading, that's what I did. And that's how I figured out that that cost me a lot of time to do it that way. So let's put a little bit of our actual metallic onto this, just so we have a point of reference as far as what color we started with, so that new people coming to the stream can see the difference that the washes make. Because our initial metallic is actually quite orange, but when you hit it with that pine green wash, it changes. It becomes much more bronze looking. Verdigris bronze. And then when you bring that brown in, then it's more of a tarnished bronze. You sit there and every step you change the appearance just a little. And you want to start with a fairly light metallic, light colored. The darker the metallic, the less your washes are going to impact it, and the less change and depth you're going to get when you do metallics. So if you start with a dark metallic like scorched metal or adamantium black or gunmetal blue, then your option is really only to highlight to build contrast. You really don't have a lot else that you can do because they're so dark out the gate that washes really aren't going to change them. So then you must highlight instead. Alrighty. So now we've got an example, and I'll put another layer on that once it dries, but we have an example of our starting metallic color on the model. And then we can see better. It's just so obvious, like the change is immense when you look between these two. Now, if I had started with a bronze color that was not this orange, guys, this would be way too green. So some of this is also understanding how different colors affect different other colors. If I've got a reddish color and I put a green over it, then it's going to mute the reddish color. And if the green is strong, it's going to shift the metal toward a greenish hue, even though the flake originally was a reddish color. But it's not going to be super green because the red in here is going to kind of mitigate it. They're complementary colors. The red and the green are complements. So they are natural shaders for each other. So it keeps, starting with the reddish, keeps this from going too green and keeps it actually looking like bronze, convincingly like bronze. All right. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to let that dry. This is just the last bits of this are drying. We're going to mix up our next wash and also put another layer of our metallic onto that knee. I did miss a little bit around the little button there. When you're doing a big metal model, and it's most of it is the same metal, you're really relying a lot on highlights and shading, verdigris, and picking out details to make it interesting. Otherwise, if you just painted all this color and you put one wash over it, it's going to look really boring. So figuring out areas where you can paint it slightly differently is a really good idea. All right, I'm going to mix up my next wash, and I have that notes on that as well. And yep, this is a 3-3-2-1 as well. So 3 drops of water, 3 drops of sealer, 2 drops of paint, and 1 drop of metallic, or 1 brushful of metallic. So let's do that. And it's a 1-to-1, because it's 2 drops of paint. It's a 1-to-1 brown liner to russet brown for our brown wash. So these two colors, 1 drop of each. David has today off, and I'm so jealous. But at the same time, I have a lot of stuff to get done, so I really don't want to take today off. It would totally wreck my productivity spiral for the week. My spiral's been going up, and I like it. Don't want to wreck it. Silly computer games. Very distracting. Boop. I can hear his wowing through the wall. Sound effects. There we go. Boop. But I'm going to keep to my routine today, darn it, even if I have a distracting fiance at home. Not in upward motion, Quindy. Well, you've been riding the stream train this week. Although thank God you didn't have to deal with reaperlive, but those guys, I mean, come on. But yeah, I totally could see how it's been distracting this week. Thanks to the boys running off playing hooky. There we are. All right, so then remember 3 drops of sealer, in this case gloss sealer because metallic. I got a productivity journal, Quindy, and it's really helping. I mean, you have to make yourself sit down and do it every morning, but it does help to keep me on track, to remind myself of the goals for the day and why I want to achieve them and how I'm going to achieve them. As in, what time am I going to work on X or Y? It also really is nice for my stress. Like it keeps me from overcommitting, because I do tend to overcommit my schedule. All right, so you've got our 1 drop of russet and our 1 drop of brown liner, although the brown liner is gooping all over because I just put sealer into it. And then 3 drops of water. 2, 3. And then 1 brushful of metallic. Invisible and unhearable, David. I know. Yeah, I'm very pleased with my productivity journal. It's really helping. I just used, at first I was just using one of my regular journals. Then I got my 100 Days Goal journal, and I really like it. It really, I'm interested to see trends over time. I'm a data nerd, so I don't know if the rest of you are, but I love statistics. And so part of the incentive for me for tracking my productivity in this way is that I will then be able to crunch the numbers on like what days of the week are my most productive, what times of day are my most productive, you know, things like that. Like I'm really curious to see what day of the week is my most productive, because then I can like make that day like kind of a day for just for really busting stuff out, right? I can more effectively use the time. I love statistics and crunching numbers like that and getting data like that that's useful. I'm essentially min-maxing my life right now, and it's kind of cool. There are days where I'm just like, this again. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's definitely those days. But I remind myself that in the end, I will have some cool data and I will have accomplished a lot. Ah, yeah. Oh, no new work. Yep. Oh, burnt out. Yep. Yep, I hit that too. That's going to be like at the end of NaNoWriMo, I think, for me. We'll see. After writing a novel plus doing all my Patreon stuff all month, plus still working on my commission work in the evenings, because I've been really good about that lately, because I really want to get my commission work done by like Christmas if I can. Like all of it except for like the last Germ batch. Like I just want to catch up on it, get it done, so it's no longer sitting there. I was not making much progress just working on it on the weekends, so. Alrighty, so now we've got this lovely brown wash to go with our green wash. And that's going to give us this rich dark color here when we start applying it over these gauntlets. So let's do that. And once again, you're going to take a huge glob of it and you're going to spread it over the surface, letting it pool in the cracks. Do not pull it really thin or it will give you globtastic results, because the little globs that build up on the ends of your brush strokes will stick around in the wrong places and they won't move because they're not flowing together with anything else. You want the whole wash to kind of flow into itself together all on one surface so that it's all wet at the same time, and that's what makes it self-level. You don't want one part to be dry while the other part is wet on one surface. Now we'll do the ram head. And because the ram head is somewhat separated by a seam line there, we can treat the ram head as a separate surface. So once we are done with the upper gauntlet, we go down to the ram head. Even though it's the same color, it helps to separate the two and to do them separately, because it gives you less surface that you have to finish before the wash starts to dry. So once the wash starts to dry, you can't touch it. Now we look like bronze. Dark, tarnished bronze. Sweet, like the shoulder pad here. It is slowly drying. I did go back in, I think, with some brown liner and darken down some of these details as well. So now we're going to mix up our wash. Always, when your wash starts to fall out of solution, and sometimes it will, you are thinning the paint a lot. You can see that one has fallen out of solution. What you should notice, though, is that my bronze has not fallen out of solution. That's because it's about 6 drops of paint and 1 drop of water. It is getting a little tacky around the edges, so I am going to get some water on my brush now and mix it in around the edge. That will help keep the paint wet so it doesn't totally set. And since metallic paint tends to stick very well to porcelain, it'll just make cleanup a little bit easier for me. Uh-oh, I just noticed that I still have like wet green wash over on this side. That means I have to let that dry. Let's see. What can we do in the meantime? I can take some, I can mix up some darker brown to come in and kind of touch in some of these details here. So let's do that. We're going to be waiting a lot for washes to dry on this model. I also will slurp a little bit of that wash out of there with the tip of my brush since it's all still wet. There, that'll make it dry a lot faster. Oh yeah, for sure, Twisted Oma. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I feel that, Quindy. My productivity journal has helped me not get burnt out. It really, I'm getting a much better understanding of how much work I can really realistically expect myself to do in a day. Like, writing takes a lot of oomph out of you. I mean, writing like the PDFs for the Patreon and things like that and coachings, you know, and then painting takes a lot out of you too, you know. You're sitting down, you're sitting in the chair for a long period of time, and you're concentrating on what you're doing because in my case, you're trying to paint something either to illustrate a point for a tutorial or to or for a coaching, or you're trying to do a commission work. So you're trying to do a good job, right? So I'm just getting a much better idea of how much work will really drain me and burn me out and how much work is just enough to get it done on time, but not overdo it. Because I'm notorious for overdoing and overcommitting and being burned out. Like, I've done that, been there, done that, really don't want to do it again. But yeah, that's the thing is, like, Twisted Oma, like, when you've got a person in your life like that, like, you can't do anything for them. They need to do it themselves. So, it is hard. Especially when you're a get her done kind of person, which I am. With David, like, when he'll do that sometimes, I'll say, why don't you do it now? and then if he's like, well, I can't do it now, but I'll have time, tomorrow night, then I'll remind him tomorrow night. But everybody's got a different relationship, with their loved ones and, getting stuff done. So the tactics that I use may not work for many people. David's pretty conscientious, so if I remind him and he knows he's committed to do it, he'll do it. I think I have a red hair tutorial, Shadow Raven. If you go to the Discord and you look in the Patreon directory, you should be able to do like a Control F search for red on that page. Hopefully it would actually work. I hope. I don't know. I've never tried to do that in Discord, but I assume you can. Yeah, and that is the problem, Quindy, right? That is absolutely the problem. So then the best you can do is the best you can do. And try to find really good ways to detox, right? That was Reaper. I mean, there were a lot of deadlines that I had to hit that felt unattainable when they were first proposed, but that was just the way it was. So I just got to the point where I was really proactive on pretty much anything I could control to get ahead so that when crazy stuff hit, I'd grump about it, but then I could get it done. But yeah, everybody's job is different. I totally get it. And it must be frustrating for you too sometimes because all that stuff is out of your control. Because when you're a highly organized person and other people are not organized, I know it gets hard. Yeah, yes, that's why I think people don't get that, Twisted Oma. They don't understand that like art and writing and creativity, like creative work, is actually as draining as physical work and sometimes sticks with you longer like that. Like they think, well, you didn't really do anything all day. Well, no, I didn't like, although yeah, sitting in a chair all day is also not great on your body. So I've been using my standing desk a lot more actually. Very happy with my standing desk. I'm glad I invested and bought one. And it's tax deductible, so yay. I think I want walnut or blackened brown for that. Let's take a look at that. I think I'd used blackened brown to kind of darken that up. Just going to make a little bit of a layering mix so that I can darken down some areas and bring in a little more contrast. Although this and that do look very comparable, but I think I want to be able, when you get a lot of fine detail like this, there's no harm in taking like a liner color or something dark. In this case, I'm just using black and brown because I had it close to hand, and lining a little bit. Since you already used a wash, the lining just lets you tighten up those details a little bit. And I'm using straight water here because to bring out these details also, I don't necessarily want the shine. So here in this one area is where I won't use the gloss for shading because I want to imply a buildup. You know what? I think I'm going to add a drop of brown liner too. Yeah, that's hard, Quindy, man. That's how I feel. That's how I felt when I was working at Reaper during ReaperCon, where there's all these moving parts. Everything is crazy. Everybody is trying to get way too much done. And you're just trying to like make sure that your corner is covered. Yep. I feel all the big hearts for you. I totally feel that. That was why I would get the urge to just go out for ice cream in the middle of the day during ReaperCon planning. Yeah, Kestrel. I'm actually able to paint while standing. I developed the skill while I was at Games Workshop, actually. I mostly use it for writing because writing and standing actually is even better for my posture. Like my shoulder doesn't hurt at all. My back is great when I'm standing and writing. That I've got it. I splurged on a really adjustable standing desk, so it actually will power up and down really nicely. It doesn't just have like, set settings. You can put it anywhere. So I've got it at this perfect level for my typing. So I've been doing a lot of PDFs while standing at the desk, and it's just so nice. It really helps. It's funny because I never have too many write-offs for my business, even though I'm freelance now. But I did decide to go in for the standing desk to write off for my business. It's a logical business expense, and I wanted a nice one, a heavy one, because I'm always kind of nervous about whether they're stable or not. So I got a very highly rated one, and I'm very happy with it. And I'll actually have something to write off. Yeah, right. Yeah, my mom has that problem too, Twisted Oma. I took up meditation to work on that. There are still nights where I have to fight it, but I have a set of mental exercises I do to kind of calm everything down, and after practicing those now for a couple of years, they really do help. I seldom have. Sometimes I have nights where I'll wake up in the middle of the night and my brain will want to start, but usually I can calm it down within 15 minutes. So the meditation practice has definitely paid off for me in that area. So I'm coming in and I'm just like essentially lining a little bit here. And because I'm using a color that's really, really close to my wash, you won't really register that it's different, except that with this, because it's lining, I can get much finer detail. On most metallic models, this wouldn't matter, but because this one has a ton of filigree and all these like sculpted details, which are quite beautiful, This allows me to accentuate those details and bring them out just like I would if it was NMM, so that I don't lose them. Yeah, mine was about $650, I think. $650, $700, I think. It's really nice. I got a very... they were the highest rated for stability, and I got the reclaimed wood top, and it looks really beautiful. I like it a lot. And it's super quiet when it powers up and down. Although now I've got it at the perfect level. I just don't move it. If I want to sit, I'll go and actually sit at a kneeling desk or something and switch it up usually instead of moving the standing desk up and down. Although it is nice to be able to adjust it a little if I would need to, if my posture changes or if I, if I hurt myself and have to change it. But yeah, when it's a tax write-off, I was able to convince myself Kestrel. Especially, like I said, I mean, Reaper takes care of me so well for paint supplies that I've got so many brushes just still from, years of stockpiling them, that a lot of the expenses that I would normally be able to write off for my business, for my painting, I'm taking care of. So miniatures are really the only thing. Yes, guys, I can write off miniatures. This is the job, right? Living the dream, right? But even then, it's like a lot of Reaper still supplies me with a lot of minis too for my tutorials. So I don't often have a lot to write off. So I thought this year, especially with my back issues and trying to get on top of them and keep on top of them, it made sense for me to get a standing desk. Because I used to use a stack of buckets in the paint department. And that actually did really, I noticed that it helped my back a lot to stand a lot during the day. So that was why I thought this would be worth it. But yeah, they're not cheap. That's for sure. Though you could do a makeshift one pretty easy if you're not putting anything heavy on it. I believe it's reclaimed wood and then they do a resin over the top of it so that the kind of crumbling edges of the reclaimed wood, rough edges, are all like smooth, and they polish and buff down the resin so the wood top still looks like it's like really nice wood, but it's got that layer of resin to protect it, so it's so easy to clean and to wipe off. I love it, actually. It looks beautiful, and it's I cannot carry my camera over to show you, but it is pretty classy. I was reading reviews on the desk, and normally they've just got like a gray or, the normal kind of meh finish. But somebody said that the reclaimed wood option was worth the extra at $50 or something. Plus, I like the whole reclaimed wood thing. Like, I definitely want to support companies that do that instead of cutting down fresh trees. So it was a no-brainer. It is really pretty. I believe it's a resin. David and I looked at it and we thought it was a resin. I don't think it's shellac. Shellac, very few people use shellac anymore because it can yellow so much over time. Maybe it's an acrylic pour as well. I'm not certain. I'd have to look up their specs. This reclaimed wood is really nice. Like, David was jealous of my desk once we put it together. But he doesn't work at home enough anymore because now that his company reopened, he's one of the, they're not he doesn't have to go into work, but he can, and he actually enjoys going into work. He likes to be on site with his team. So he's, if another year of work from home would have been the rule, I'm pretty sure David would have gotten a standing desk for this house as well. So I'm just taking this shading in and I'm just using it to accentuate where I really want some shadows, some tarnish. Wherever I want to bring in a detail, I'm going to accentuate my washes. And I still keep that nice fade that the wash gives you, but now see how it's all tightening up? You can see the details really well. And that's the same effect that we're getting like down here where I did this, in here, all these places to kind of just bring out all your details. Yeah, me too, Robin. That's why I did this, to I just like wood. And so with the option to get that instead of just some, you know, plastic resin gray thing or whatever, I was like, yeah, I'm very happy with it. Expensive, but would recommend to anybody with the ability to write it off or with extra cash to spend. All right. So now I'm going to take this brown wash and I'm actually going to hit this ram with another layer of it. Yes, true. On a hobby project level, that's cool, Pendrake. Yeah, it's neat. I really think it's cool. I mean, we've used all this wood down through the ages, so it's nice to have it get a new life. All right, another layer of brown on top of this ram's head to really get it dark before we start bringing it back up. And I'm going to get in here with my wash, or with my liner rather, and really add some dark tones around the ram's head. Again, if you see bubbles, just blow on them really lightly, they will pop. Make sure you get them right away. Do not leave them or they will set. There's a nice dark ram's head. Yeah, it really does vary. Sometimes Amazon brand is not that great, and sometimes it's just fine depending on what you're buying. I went brand name with my standing desk because I looked up like specific ones. Like I bought it off of Amazon, but it's not an Amazon brand. That's cool, Pendrake. But yeah, I researched all the different standing desk options and some of the best sellers and for why they were best sellers and stuff like that. I wanted to get I do my product research usually, and that means I'm typically happy with what I end up buying. I did the same thing with the air fryer. Because sometimes the best product for somebody else isn't the best product for you, so doing a little extra research really pays off. Plus, I'm a nerd. Come on. What do I like? I like to quantify things, right? Data. I just talked about that earlier. I love graphs and charts. There we go. Just come in and line those ram's horns, really bring out those segments. Yeah, that's the other great thing about them, right, Zaiku? I'm totally with you on that. Like, the fact that they're fully adjustable means that you can actually adjust it to exactly the height you need. I'm short. I have, like, a short torso and relatively short arms. I joke I have T-Rex arms. So, I totally feel you there, like, that when you've got a body type or a size that doesn't suit a standard desk height very well, oh my gosh, it's so nice to be able to just adjust. Absolutely. Like, so useful. David just likes them because when he has them at work, And so he's just noticed that it's just better. His back and shoulders feel much better when he uses a standing desk. So if you have back or shoulder pain, they may help you. Now I'm going to take this, what I did is I thinned the liner just a little bit there, really get a, see how deep this patina is getting now after two green washes and 2 brown washes. We've got a beautiful luster on this ram's head right now. And now we're going to just use our lining and really bring that out, really accentuate our darks. And then when we come back in and start doing kind of wearing off the scratches and the scrapes, it'll really be startling. It'll show up better. Short torsos unite. Exactly right. Yep, exactly. Yeah, chairs, exactly. Yeah. See? Yeah, it's so funny. Like, you'd think, considering how much time all of us these days spend in our offices, if we work from that in that type of job, and so many of us do, you would think there would be more adjusting options, right? More customization options. Like, where is the store where you can walk in and get a desk and chair adjusted to your size and body type and then try it out before you buy it? Like, I want that. Where's that store? Why is that store not a thing yet? Right, yeah. See, when you've got back problems, yeah, exactly. Then you have to use cushions and braces and supports. And before I was able to do enough, like before the yoga and the strength training helped my back so much, I had to use a cushion to just sit on a couch, like normally. And I was not into that, so I worked hard. And I was able, because I was pretty young and it hadn't fully developed, I was able to work to strengthen my back, which is really my whole goal, right? Is like, when you get diagnosed early, the nice thing is you can work to not need surgery. It doesn't always work, but you can try. Yeah, balance would be our, unless they do make the standing desk company that I bought from makes a chair that's flexible, that adjusts to the height of the desk. I don't know if you need more support than that, Turjan, but they do make that sort of thing. But I know everybody's different, so I mean, bottom line, just like we always say, like, do the best thing you can for you and your body and your sanity and your pocketbook, all the rest of you, all the various aspects of you. And always be alert for, like, ways you can improve your circumstances, too. I know I'm bad about that. Sometimes I forget that, hey, things change. Maybe I should check and see if there's an X on the market now that could help me do Y. Or I'll be like complaining about something and David will be like, you could just buy a blank. You could just buy an X or a Y or a Z for that. I'm like, if they make that? Yeah, right. Super cheaper to do one size fits nobody. Actually, the furniture store we went to for our couch actually customized it. Like, the depth, the cushion firmness, the length, everything. Our new couch in our TV room is fully customized to fit us. So there are some furniture stores that get it. All right, I'm going to darken down the snout of this little beast so that I can bring in scrapes. So I spend a lot of time on this particular fine-tuning part of the model. I was like, this is my opportunity to like get everything sharp and figure out like, you know, what I'm going to do with it. While I'm bringing in these shadows, I am also thinking about how I want to start eroding this area with scratches and dings and stuff. And I'm going to probably go over a lot of this, but probably not all of it. And so I'm still going to do all this detailing. And giving it that dark opacity means that scrapes and everything are going to show up against it much easier. So the more I darken down the bronze here, the better the weathering, or the reverse weathering, the erosion, the scratches and scrapes and abrasions are going to look. The lighter you leave the area, the less your scratches and effects like that are going to show up. So if you're planning to do a lot of wear and tear, make sure you've got a lot of like at least tarnish built up. Like start darker. This is the area where you want to bring everything dark before you bring it back up to light, because contrast. If you try to do scrapes and scratches on a surface that's just polished and new, they don't really show up. I mean, they'll show up if you look very closely, but they're not going to show up at a glance. So it's much more effective if you've got a surface that's seen some soiling and tarnish and wear, and then you bring in that effect. Eventually, Robin. But we're not there yet. I'm not going to be able to add verdigris to any area where I'm doing battering damage. I mean, it might be a little bit in the cracks, but it won't be like it is up here. Like the whole golem eventually needs to be patterned off of this shoulder pad. This is a proof of concept. So this area right here is the proof of concept. And when you are thinking about doing something like this, it helps to finish out one area to a point that you enjoy and think it looks good. Oh my god, I love that. Really? They make that? Crap, I need one of those, Quindy. Yeah. What do they call it? Tell me. Tell me. Please, I need this in my life. Hold on, I'm going to get a sticky note for it. What's the product? Because I also am short, and I also feel like I'm going to be decapitated by my car. So, like, if you know the brand, like, I'm so into it. Thank you. Seatbelt adjuster for short people. Yeah, I'm totally interested in that, Quindy. Thanks for looking it up for me. Meanwhile, we'll continue blocking in shadows on this bronze. Oh, and I forgot to do the wash up there on the inside. Yeah, I'm sure they make those for kids, but I am not a kid and I still need it. Be aware when you're working over a long time period too, like we are here where we're working over an hour, hour and a half, that your wash is going to thicken. So keep an eye on that, and it's probably not a problem if you made a big batch of it, but if you start noticing that the color has shifted or that maybe it's a little darker than you want, just be aware that that can happen. Excellent. That's looking good. All you guys have tiny moms. My mom's taller than I am. I'm the short one. I got my grandma's height. I'm the shortest one in my family. My brother is 6'2". No, I don't stretch during the morning stream anymore, Turgeon. I do stretch during my own afternoon stream on Thursdays because that's 2 hours. And at that point, it makes sense. But an hour and a half is not too bad since I've been strengthening. My morning yoga that I've been compulsive about now, you guys know, for like months and months and months, like has strengthened my back enough that I'm okay. Oh, of course. Seatbelt adjuster for adult. Okay. Seat belt adjuster for adults. I will do that. Thank you. Awesome. Hello, George. 27 months. Nice. Yeah, at this point, it's almost fixed me. Like, I'm working on some other strengthening stuff now. Because it's important. Because quality of life. Because I want to be... My parents set an excellent example for me. They're both very... they walk every day. They're both fit people. Like, they both... My mom does, like, strengthening exercises in the morning, too. And she's been doing it for a while. And I didn't... You know, I started doing it when my back went out a few years back. But both my parents are excellent examples, and they're both in their mid-70s, and they're both very active people still. They're both in great shape, and so that's a really good example. That set a really good example for me as a kid and as a adult now. Because that's the kind of shape I want to be in when I hit, you know, my 70s and 80s. So it's inspiring. I was a little late to the party because I was such a nerd. So I had terrible posture, and I sat in a chair and painted miniatures and played computer games all day. But in general, I could be worse. So I'm working now on kind of getting better habits that way. Yeah, for sure. I'm 5.6 or 5'6", so I've got a few inches on you, but it's still uncomfortable, right? But yeah, thanks for that recommend, Quindy. Yeah, see, lots of people got helped in the chat. Yay! We've helped people in the chat, including ourselves. Sweet. But yeah, I'm the least athletic one in my family. I'm the biggest nerd. My brother is really athletic. He's like one of those ridiculous 2% body fat people. And he doesn't like super work at it either. He's a freaking architect with a desk job, and he still has 2% body fat. It's ridiculous. Like, why did he get the 2% body fat gene and I got the just body fat gene? Yes, helping. Helping for big time. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, he's in his 40s now. He has no excuse to keep that 2% body fat crap up. Seriously. Seriously, bro. Come on. No, but he looks great, and I'm proud of my brother for staying in shape and generally being a great person and a great dad to my niece and nephew. So, yeah, bye. Bye, Shadow Raven. Have fun. Thanks for stopping in. It's not the same without your sarcasm. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, his Pete's wife, my sister-in-law, She's a chiropractor. She's very into healthy eating and exercise. So I think that my bro and his family are probably going to stay in real good shape as they get older. I wouldn't be surprised if Pete was one of those, 60-year-olds who's like still playing volleyball and golfing and doing all the stuff when he gets there. Would not surprise me one bit, because he likes to have an active lifestyle too. So, and he wants to be able to do things with the kids. So, and you can absolutely get in better shape at 60 than you were at 40. I mean, people do it. It takes work, takes commitment. But I think one of the books that got me, and actually a couple of my older friends off their butts a while ago, was it's called Younger Next Year. It's a very inspirational book, but it also has some solid science behind it about aging and about how much of aging is like really genetic and, coded into us, and how much of it is just our lifestyles. It's a very cool book. It's not judgy. It's really cool. It's written by old people for old people. And parts of it are definitely funny. So recommend it. I recommend it. Yeah, that's a bummer, surgeon. Yeah, I was trying to figure out if I couldn't walk, what would I do? And I'd probably start. I don't know. I might get a rowing or an exercycle is probably the answer for me. Much as I don't like them as much as walking, it would still be something. Because I want to be vital well into my older years, and I am willing to put in work now to get there. I mean, my mom's going to be like, in a few years, she'll be in her 80s, and she still like takes road trips up north in Wisconsin to play golf with her friends, and mom's an inspiration. I love my mom. All right, look at how nice and beautifully like tarnished that bronze is now. Like the wash was a good start, but taking that and pushing it with the lining and using the lining to do some additional shading has really brought all that out, and it's really darkened this down. Now when we start to do scraping and bringing up this area, it should show up a lot more. That's really what we want. Oh yeah, well, any walking. Hey, at least you lost the 40 there, Twisted Oma. I mean, 160 is not bad. Down from 200. That's a real accomplishment. Good for you. All right, I'm going to actually do my brown wash now on this fist so that we can compare the two and see the difference. So I'm going to mix up my brown wash, get my crappy brush, and apply. Walkie-talkies, that's funny, War Shadow. I like, my walking time is my alone time. Especially back in the days before I got my divorce, when I had a crap ton of dogs, and, it was just, there was a lot in my life. I really depended on my walks for my mental health. Just having that silence and that alone time meant a lot to me. There we go. Got our nice brown wash going on there. Let's get the back part. Again, if you see bubbles, just blow them off and do it right away. Don't let them set. They will actually make little circular scars on the surface if you let them set. There we go. If bigger bubbles resist you, then use your brush to poke them and pop them. There. All right, let's let that set. Hey, it all works, Rapster. Staying in motion as you get older, I think, is the most important thing. And some things like bicycling and swimming are supposed to be like regenerative for your joints and all that stuff too. So, all right. So now you can really see the difference. Look at this. There's the brown wash. It's actually a little thicker than the brown wash was when it went on over here. But you can really see a difference from all the lining and additional shading I did, can't you? Like, given this is going to dry and it's going to look a little different, but it's actually going to dry a little lighter. So you can see the color difference and the depth and how much richer this looks. Mental therapy. Yes, it's true. So you can see why I spent the extra time to go in with that liner mix, black and brown liner, 1-to-1, and then thin down just a bit, probably a bit thin down around 2-to-1. So it's a little thin, but it's not like, it's still decent for a liner, but it's like that. So essentially you can line with it still and get, okay, if you mix it up, you can actually line with it. There you go. So you can line with it still, but it also, if you get just a little on your brush, it can be used as just for layering, for quick layering, especially over metallics. And so you can see, like, when you can just look and see the difference between just this has the green and the brown washes on it, and this has had the additional lining. So it's a big difference. It depends on what kind of ink you're talking about. A liner is a paint, first of all. It is definitely a paint. The liners are just paints that are built in a base that's a little more transparent so that you can very easily influence the weight of the line that you want to put down. Whether you're trying to get a more subtle line, in which case you thin it a little more, or you want a thicker line, in which case you use it almost full strength. So a liner is just a paint. It has a different chemical structure than most acrylic paints and all of the other bases, a different structure than all of the other bases we use. But it is still a paint. Just got a different kind of base. Inks are a different beast these days. There are several different kinds, so you have to tell me what you mean by ink. Vallejo's are probably, I don't know, but they're probably an acrylic ink, but I don't know. Vallejo is an art company, so they could still be traditional inks. There's dyes and there's acrylics. Essentially, acrylic inks are just washes. But traditional inks, artist inks, are dyes. And that means that they're, again, a different beast. They'll bleed if you they'll reactivate if you put water over the top. So either way, an ink, quote unquote, in today's hobby world is either a wash by a different name, but really it's just a wash, or it is a dye, which is the old school, what they used to be. In which case it is not ideal because it will reactivate when you put water over it, including other paints. If Vallejo has acrylic, it makes sense for Vallejo to have acrylic inks, but I wasn't sure because I've never used Vallejo inks. Carly, that's funny. That's why I always look at my phone. I look at my watch when I'm, walking. So I make sure if it's a half an hour has passed, then I know that's going to take me a half hour to get back. Alrighty. So that is looking good. That is looking good. We have 9 minutes left. So I don't want to start on the scratches. I do want to start bringing in, you guys see the difference though, right? Between the depth that we get over here and contrast that we get over here and then over here. And it's subtle, but it's there. I do see a little mold liney thing that I missed. Hold on while I get that. I'll just shave that off now while I've got my washes all active and I've got my my base color mixed up so I can touch up everything super fast. Yeah, that's good, I think. Yeah, I like to walk when I'm emotionally upset too. It really helps. Or when I'm stressed. It helps when I'm stressed. My metallic is almost completely out at this point, but I will put it on. Actually mix a little water into it just to carry it and get it easy to clean up. Once you're you're almost done for the day, just take a huge brush full of water and throw it into the well with your metallic. That will help to loosen up that paint, and that actually can be used with almost any paint to kind of loosen up the outside paint for when you go and clean up your palette. Makes it easier to clean up when you're using a well palette. Alrighty. I've done some good progress today. I'm going to work on this arm a little bit for our, yep. Close to the end. Bye, Crowley. Close to the end of the stream, you are correct. That's why I'm just going to do some touch-ups here. And a bit of lining and deepening and detailing of the color here, just like we did on the other side. And the nice thing here, by the way, is when I'm lining, if I put down a layer of color and it's too strong, I just reach over to my brown wash and I use that to blend it in. So it's sneaky. So you can go back and forth with that kind of technique easily. Coyotes can be dangerous in packs, Pendrake. Foxes are different. Yeah, they're small. But yeah, they warn people in Santa Fe not to, like, there are places that you shouldn't walk because of the packs of coyotes. Yeah, they've evolved. Coyotes have evolved because of humans. They used to be solo hunters, not so much these days. It's an interesting example of how what we think is ingrained, right? ingrained behavior, quote unquote, isn't really, if the animal needs to adapt. And if it's intelligent and reasonably social, it can learn. I wonder sometimes how much of that also was pressure from just homeless dogs, like feral dogs. Like, because the dogs would absolutely run in packs because the pack dynamic is pretty strong in them. And then the coyote would lose out. I don't know, it's an interesting question. I kind of wonder if any animal behaviorists have tackled that. So I'm going in with my lining to darken down and bring out some of these details, just like I did on the other side. And because I'm using a color that's essentially the same as my wash, it's easy to camouflage. Oh yeah, they get bold. Yep. You know, I hate to say it, but humans have kind of created this problem. So maybe we should, we've certainly contributed to it. All right, so we've got that nice deep color coming through up here. Yeah, it could definitely be a lot of coy dogs out there, Robin, these days. Although, disturbingly, I hear more stories about coyotes eating dogs. Attacking and killing and eating dogs. But I'm sure there's also some other... Yeah, the silly people feeding the coyotes, right? Like, the coyotes need their help. Like, Coyote is, like, laughing at them. Going, suckers. I'm going to come back and eat your cat. Like, coyotes do not need our help right now. I wonder if really we ought to be looking for our coyote overlords instead of our robotic overlords. Like, I kind of wonder if coyotes could just take over the world. They are smart. But yeah, I remember seeing a coyote just walking down the side of the road in Denton, just bold as brass, soon after I moved up there, closer to Reaper. And I was like, wow, that was a wild coyote. And it was just like, yeah, whatever. Some of the details over here didn't really take well in the casting, so I'm going to just reintroduce a little bit freehand-wise. Make a little bit of detail there. Yeah. Yeah, coyotes, like I said, coyote overlords, that's going to be a thing. They're like, we can move into the cities. They're just quietly invading. Very adaptable animals. Yeah, no more stray cats, I bet. And that's the other thing, right? Feral cat populations. It's totally a food supply. given that, I'm kind of surprised that more of them aren't seen in like the Fort Worth and Dallas areas. Because I know they're out there on the fringes. And at least when I was in Louisville, there was a big feral cat issue. There we go. All right. So there we are. We are pretty much good to go for next stream tackling. I didn't get down to the ram's head at all. I just got some work done up here. But we are good to go with tackling some of our wear and tear on the ram's head fist next time. So that'll be exciting for you guys. We've got still a nice kind of portrayal of how the color shifts and the look of the golem changes as you add different effects across the surface. So I'm pretty happy with this as kind of a demo piece at this point. Yeah, like I said, I probably won't finish this whole thing because it's a lot of repetition. But we'll see. We'll see. I will work on it as long as I'm inspired and people are not bored. And if either of those fails, then I'll swap it out for something else. Just because it's a huge project and it's going to take a long time. Very, very long. There we go. All right. So yeah, we did, we started with a bare fists, and we applied sometimes up to 4 layers of washes and some lining and layering to bring the details out. Yep. Don't forget Reaper Land today at 3 p.m. Yeah, maybe it'll let you resub, Quindy. Yeah, have a happy weekend, everybody. Like, I hope you guys have a great one planned, and kick back, relax, detox, you know, and I'll see you all on Monday when we work on the Knoll Pirate again. Woo, Knoll Pirate. Woohoo! We have to repaint his paw. All right, have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.